My pregnant sister-in-law demanded the bedroom in my house for her baby, so I invited her husband and her secret boyfriend to dinner and did this. Throwaway for obvious reasons. So about 4 months ago, my brother Ross and his wife Tanya had this huge water damage emergency at their apartment. A pipe burst while they were at work and basically destroyed everything. Furniture, clothes, electronics, all completely ruined. They needed somewhere to crash temporarily, while insurance figured things out. And since I have a 3-bedroom house and have always been close with my brother, I said they could stay in our guest room. For context, I live with my boyfriend Jack, male, 36, in a house that I own. Bought it myself before we got together, which I'm kind of proud of, to be honest. We use one bedroom as our master, another as my home office. I work from home 4 days a week as a project manager, and the third as a guest room. It's not like some massive place, but it was comfortable for us before having 2 extra adults here full-time. I should probably explain that Ross and I have always been pretty close, even though our parents favored him growing up. They bought him a car when he turned 16, but made me work summer jobs to buy my own car. They also paid for his college, but only gave me loans that they later forgave for him, but not for me. But Ross has always been a good brother to me despite all that, so I was happy to help when they needed it. Ross met Tonya about 3 years ago at our friend Mike's wedding. She seemed nice enough at first, but something about her always felt a little off. Just one of those gut feelings, like she was always performing a little bit. Anyway, they got married pretty quickly, like 8 months after meeting, and seemed happy enough. So when they moved in, we all agreed it would be for a few weeks max. Then about 2 weeks after moving in, they announced Tanya is pregnant. She's about 6 months along now, and the temporary stay has stretched into 4 freaking months, with 0 signs of them leaving. At first, things were fine-ish, but over time, Tonya has gotten more demanding. Like I came home one day and she had completely reorganized my entire pantry without asking. When I politely mentioned that she should maybe ask before changing things in my house, she got all teary-eyed and said she was nesting and needed things organized her way. I tried to tell her I had a system that worked for me and that we should discuss changes to shared spaces first. She started crying and told me I didn't understand pregnancy hormones and that she needed to nest. Ross jumped in and told me I should be more understanding since she's pregnant. I just backed down because I didn't want to start a huge fight. Later, Jack told me privately that I shouldn't have to put up with this in my own house. And he's right. But I also don't want to cause problems with my brother. And oh my freaking God, it's gotten so much worse. I work from home most days, and Tanya is constantly interrupting me with stupid little requests. Like, I'll be in the middle of a Zoom meeting and she'll barge into my office to ask if we have any more yogurt or complain that the Wi-Fi is slow. I've explained like a million times that when my door is closed, I'm working, but she just doesn't seem to get it. Or care. I don't know. Meanwhile, Ross is barely ever home because he works long hours as a construction manager, so I'm stuck dealing with Tanya all day. And they barely contribute to household expenses because they're saving for the baby, which, whatever, I get it. Babies are expensive, but so is having 2 extra adults in your house using utilities and eating your food. Our grocery bill has basically doubled. And don't even get me started on how long our water bill is now with Tanya taking like 30-minute showers twice a day because pregnancy makes me feel gross. But yesterday was the absolute final straw. Tanya walked into my office without knocking again while I was on a call, which I had to mute, and announced that she and the baby would need to take over our master bedroom. I literally just stared at her for like 10 seconds trying to process what she was saying. When I asked her to explain, she said that the guest room was too small for a crib and changing table, and that the master bedroom had better natural light for the baby, and that the ensuite bathroom would be essential for middle-of-the-night baby care. I told her absolutely not. This is my house that I pay the mortgage on, and there is no universe in which I'm giving up my bedroom to anyone. She started crying and said I was being selfish and didn't care about family. Then she suggested that Jack and I could move into either my office or the guest room temporarily. When I reminded her that this whole arrangement was supposed to be temporary in the first place, she got all huffy and said they need the space more than we do because of the baby. I asked her point blank when they were planning to move out, and she finally admitted that their insurance money actually came through weeks ago, but they're not ready to find a new place. I was so angry. They've had the money to leave, but have just been staying for free and now want my bedroom. She stormed out saying she was going to tell Ross how horrible I was being to her and the baby. I was so angry I could barely think straight. Later that evening, I needed to print some documents for work, but my printer was acting up. Tanya had left her laptop on the kitchen table, so I asked if I could use it to send the documents to our other printer. She said fine. While I was using her laptop, notifications kept popping up from what looked like a dating app. I know I shouldn't have, but I clicked on it. I'm not proud of this part, but I was curious, and honestly at this point I was just frustrated with everything. What I found made me feel sick. Tanya has an active profile and has been regularly messaging some guy named Sean for months. From the messages, it's clear they've been seeing each other throughout her pregnancy. There were messages about how they had to be careful and find more time together, and even some about how things will be complicated once the baby comes. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to tell Ross immediately because he deserves to know. But another part of me knows this will hurt him badly. And honestly, based on the timeline and some of the messages, I'm not even sure the baby is his. I've never been in this kind of situation before and have no idea how to handle it. So now I'm stuck in this impossible situation where my entitled sister-in-law is having an affair while living in my house, demanding my bedroom, and taking advantage of my brother. And if I tell Ross about the affair, I'm afraid it will not only devastate him, but might also result in them staying even longer while they figure things out. What would you do? Am I wrong for wanting them out of my house at this point? Should I tell Ross about the affair or keep my mouth shut? I feel like I'm going crazy. Edit. Some people are asking why I don't just kick them out. It's complicated because 1, she's pregnant, and I don't want to put a pregnant woman on the street, even if she is a cheater, and 2, despite everything, I love my brother and don't want to hurt our relationship, but I'm reaching my breaking point. Edit 2. To clarify about the home ownership, since a lot of people are asking, I bought this house before Jack and I got together. He moved in about 2 years ago and contributes to expenses, but the mortgage and deed are in my name only. Edit 3. For those asking about Ross's reaction to the bedroom demand, he wasn't home when it happened, and Tanya hasn't brought it up again since. I'm guessing she's waiting to ambush me with it when Ross is around, thinking he'll take her side, which he probably will because he always does. Edit 4. Wow, this blew up. To answer everyone asking if I took screenshots of the messages, yes I did. I'm not dumb. I know how this works. Back in college, my ex cheated on me and literally no one believed me until I had proof, so I've learned my lesson. I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to myself. Now for the first update. So a lot has happened since my last post, and I've been trying to figure out how to handle everything. Sorry for not updating sooner, but this past week has been insane, and I'm still processing all of it. Thanks for all the support and advice on my last post. I honestly didn't expect so many people to respond, and it really helped me feel like I wasn't crazy for being upset. First of all, after finding those messages on Tanya's laptop, I decided I needed more evidence before saying anything to Ross. I know what happened in college when my ex cheated, and no one believed me until I finally got screenshots of his texts with this girl from his study group. So I learned my lesson about needing solid proof when it comes to cheating accusations. So I've been taking screenshots of everything. The messages between Tanya and this Sean guy are explicit, like details about their meetups and how much they miss each other, and stuff about how complicated things will be after the baby comes. I also figured out that Sean works at the same hospital as Tanya. She's an admin assistant in radiology, and he's in IT. There are messages about them meeting up during her lunch breaks and in supply closets, and him covering for her when she calls out sick to spend time with him. And yes, to answer the questions from my last post, I emailed all the screenshots to myself and saved them on a flash drive just to be safe. The more I read their messages, the more I started wondering if the baby is even Ross's. There's nothing directly saying it isn't, but there's this one message where Sean asks something about what they're going to do after, and she responds, "One step at a time, we'll figure it out," which seems suspicious. Anyway, things in the house have gotten worse. 2 days ago, Tanya brought up the bedroom situation again, but this time when Ross was there. I guess she thought he would take her side, which he usually does. We were all eating, and Tanya brought up that they'll need the master bedroom for the baby because of the space and attached bathroom. I nearly choked and told her she had demanded the bedroom, not asked for it. Ross looked embarrassed, but said maybe it wasn't that unreasonable since the baby would need space. Jack immediately defended me, saying it's completely wrong to ask someone to give up their bedroom in their own house. Tanya started crying about nobody caring about the baby's needs and how family should help each other. I was so angry, I reminded them that they got their insurance money weeks ago and haven't bothered to look for their own place, even though they were supposed to be here temporarily. Ross got defensive about family supporting each other during important life changes. I almost told him about the affair right then, but stopped myself. Jack suggested that Ross and Tanya should focus on finding their own place since the baby would be here in just a few months. Tonya stormed off, claiming everyone was against her, and Ross followed her after giving me a disappointed look. Later that night, Ross apologized for the awkward dinner, but still asked if we could consider the bedroom switch. He's my brother, and I love him, but he is so blind when it comes to Tonya. The next day, I heard Tanya in the backyard on the phone. She was talking to Sean, making plans to meet up. I heard her say she knows it's going to be complicated after the baby comes, but they'll figure it out, and that she can meet tomorrow while he's at work. I was torn about whether to tell Ross immediately or wait until they moved out. But then yesterday I heard Tanya telling Ross that they should just stay with me and Jack indefinitely because it makes financial sense and they could save for a bigger house while living here. Indefinitely. She actually said that. Like my house is just theirs now. And the master bedroom discussion suddenly made more sense. She's not planning on leaving ever. That was the final straw. I decided I had to do something, and after thinking about it all day and night, barely slept, I came up with a plan. I'm organizing a special appreciation dinner tonight, supposedly to thank Ross for fixing our deck last weekend. I told them both it would be a nice gesture to show my gratitude. But here's the thing. I created a fake email account pretending to be Tanya and contacted Sean. I told him Tanya wanted to surprise him with a special dinner and gave him my address and said to come at 7 p.m. tonight. I know this is probably a terrible idea, but I just can't take it anymore. My grandma always said, "The truth will set you free," though I'm pretty sure this isn't what she had in mind. But Ross deserves to know what's happening, both about the affair and about the insurance money. I've asked Jack to pick up Ross from work so he won't be late and can't back out, and I'm making Ross's favorite foods, lasagna with garlic bread. Tanya seems suspicious about the dinner but doesn't know who else is coming. She's asked me like 3 times who else is coming, and I just keep saying someone special. I'm literally shaking while typing this. Part of me feels vindicated, but also guilty. Like, am I doing the right thing? Will this completely destroy my relationship with my brother? But he needs to know the truth. And I can't keep living like this with Tanya taking advantage of both of us. The lasagna is in the oven, table is set for 4, and I'm just waiting now. Oh God, the doorbell just rang. I think it's Sean. Here we go. Edit. A lot of people are asking if I'm being too much with this dinner setup. Maybe. But after months of Tanya's entitlement, lying about the insurance money, demanding my bedroom, and cheating on my brother while living in my house rent-free, I'm done with subtle approaches. Ross never listens when it comes to Tanya anyway. Edit 2. For those saying I should have just shown Ross the screenshots privately, you're probably right. But I tried to have serious conversations with him about Tanya's behavior before, and he always dismisses me as being too hard on her or not understanding pregnancy. I want there to be no possibility of denial this time. Edit 3. Yes, I realize this could backfire, but I'm at my breaking point. I've tried being patient, I've tried being understanding, I've tried gentle approaches, nothing has worked. And now they're talking about staying indefinitely in my house. While she's carrying on an affair, I just can't anymore. Edit 4. To those asking about Jack's opinion on my plan, he thinks it's unnecessarily theatrical, but also says he understands why I'm at this point. He's agreed to help because he's also tired of the situation and wants our house back to normal. Now for the second update. Okay, so I know it's been like 3 weeks since my last update about the dinner, and I'm sorry for disappearing on you all. Honestly, the aftermath has been a lot, and I needed time to process everything and deal with the family fallout before I could sit down and write this all out. Thank you to everyone who's been checking in and asking for updates. Your support has meant more than you know during this whole mess. So, the dinner. For those who remember my last post, which oh my frickin' god blew up way more than I expected, I'd planned this whole appreciation dinner as a setup to expose Tanya's affair with Sean by inviting both of them, plus my brother Ross and my boyfriend Jack, to the same table. I know a bunch of you thought this was too dramatic or that I should have just shown Ross the screenshots privately. And looking back, maybe you were right. But after months of Tanya's entitled behavior and lying about the insurance money and trying to take over my bedroom while cheating on my brother in my house, I was just done with subtle approaches. Like, I'd tried talking to Ross before about Tanya's behavior, and he always dismissed me as being too hard on her or not understanding pregnancy hormones, so I just couldn't anymore. Anyway, the day of the dinner, Jack picked up Ross from work like we planned, while I stayed home finishing the lasagna, Ross's favorite. The whole time I was cooking, I was literally shaking so bad I almost dropped the pan twice. Oh, and I forgot to mention this in my last post, but I actually added extra garlic to everything because Tanya had been complaining about garlic making her nauseous lately, which was beast because I literally saw her devour garlic bread the week before when she thought nobody was watching. Tanya was getting more and more anxious as dinner time approached and kept asking who the special guest was. She even tried to get out of dinner entirely, saying she wasn't feeling well and maybe we should reschedule. I just kept saying it was a surprise and that she'd want to be there. She was checking her phone constantly and looking super nervous, which just confirmed everything for me. The doorbell rang at exactly 7 p.m. I remember my heart was pounding as I went to answer it. I thought I might throw up. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely turn the doorknob. Sean was standing there with flowers, looking confused when I opened the door instead of her. I smiled and introduced myself as Tanya's sister-in-law and invited him in. Tanya went completely pale when she saw him. Ross stood up to greet Sean, completely oblivious, and shook his hand. Sean hesitantly introduced himself as Tanya's colleague from the hospital. I mentioned that Sean works in IT at the hospital where Tanya's an admin in radiology, and how nice it was that they could be so close. Ross said Tanya rarely mentions her coworkers, and Sean made some comment about them working closely together for about a year. Tanya tried to excuse herself at this point, suddenly claiming morning sickness at 6 months pregnant. Okay, sure. I said I had ginger ale ready for her because I knew pregnancy was so hard, looking pointedly at Sean when I said this. Jack was amazing through all of this, making casual conversation with Sean about his job while I served dinner. I deliberately kept bringing up the baby, watching Sean's reactions. He looked more and more uncomfortable every time the pregnancy was mentioned, while Tanya tried desperately to change the subject. She knocked over her water glass at one point, and I swear it seemed deliberate just to cause a distraction. By dessert time, everyone was super uncomfortable. I proposed a toast to new beginnings, and then casually mentioned how Tanya had wanted to take over our master bedroom for the baby. Sean looked confused and asked if Tanya was moving in with him soon. Ross asked what he meant by that, and I said that Sean didn't know Ross and Tanya were married. Everything exploded after that. I could barely keep track of who was saying what. Sean asked about the baby and if it was his. Tanya insisted it was Ross's, but neither of them seemed to believe her. I finally showed Ross some of the screenshots of their conversations. He just sat there staring at them while Tanya kept switching between denying everything and screaming that I was ruining her life. At one point, she actually threw her plate on the floor. Eventually, Ross asked about the insurance money, and Tanya admitted they'd received it weeks ago, but she wasn't ready to move out. That was the final straw for Ross, finding out she'd been lying about that too. Both men left that night, Ross to stay with his friend Mike and process everything, and Sean practically ran out the door. Tanya stayed in our guest room that night, sobbing and calling me a jealous bitch who always hated her. Not true, by the way. I just saw through her act. She kept screaming through the door that I had ruined everything and that I would regret this. She packed her stuff and left for her parents' house the next morning. The past 3 weeks have been intense. Ross filed for divorce almost immediately and demanded a paternity test. Tanya refused at first, saying the baby was definitely his and he was abandoning his child, but she finally agreed after Ross's lawyer got involved. They can't do the test until the baby is born though, so that's still hanging over everyone. My parents have taken Tanya's side in all this, if you can believe it. They called me screaming about how I should have minded my own business, and families don't do this to each other. It's brought up all the old stuff about how they always favored Ross growing up, which I mentioned in my first post. When I pointed out that Tanya was the one who betrayed the family, they said I should have told Ross privately or not at all. I hung up on them and we haven't really talked since. My mom texted yesterday asking if I was ready to apologize yet, which made me want to throw my phone across the room. Oh wait, I just realized I never mentioned this part. When Tanya was packing up her stuff the next morning, she actually tried to take some of my things, like my expensive face creams and even a pair of my earrings. Jack caught her and made her put everything back. The audacity of this woman never ceases to amaze me. Ross stayed with Mike for about a week, but has been in our guest room for the past 2 weeks while he figures out his next steps. He was furious with me at first, not for revealing the affair, but for doing it so publicly. He said I humiliated him. But after a few days, he thanked me for telling him the truth before he invested years more in a marriage built on lies. We've had some good talks, and I think our relationship will actually be stronger after all this. Tanya's parents actually called me to yell at me for destroying their daughter's marriage. The crazy part. They knew about the affair, but thought Tanya would grow out of it after the baby came. Like, what the frick? Who thinks like that? I told them they should be ashamed for enabling her behavior, and hung up on them too. Sean contacted Ross to apologize and confirmed their relationship had been going on for over a year, so pretty much since Tonya started at the hospital. He said he didn't know she was married at first, but admitted he continued the relationship after finding out. He told Ross he'll take responsibility if the baby turns out to be his. I don't know all the details of their conversation because Ross is pretty private about it. Looking back, I still don't know if the dramatic dinner reveal was the right approach. Many of you said I was being unnecessarily theatrical, and maybe I was. But after months of Tanya taking advantage of both me and Ross, lying about needing temporary housing and having the audacity to demand my bedroom while carrying on an affair in my house, I just snapped. Maybe I could have handled it better, but honestly, I'm not sure a private conversation would have convinced Ross. He's always been blind when it comes to Tanya, and part of me wanted to see the look on her face when her two worlds collided. Is that petty? Probably. But after everything she put us through, I can't bring myself to feel bad about it. Ross is in therapy now and slowly healing. He's looking for his own apartment, so our guest room situation will be resolved soon. Jack and I are finally getting our home back to normal, which is such a relief after all these months. No more Tanya barging into my office during work calls or reorganizing my kitchen without asking. I have mixed feelings about everything. I'm satisfied that Tonya's manipulative behavior was exposed, but sad for my brother's pain. I'm worried about the innocent baby that's going to be born into this mess in a few months, and I'm uncertain about whether my relationship with my parents will ever recover. The creepiest part. Tanya sent me a text yesterday saying, "You think you've won, but this isn't over." I've saved the message just in case. I'm not too worried though. She's shown her true colors to everyone now. While the look on Tonya's face when she got caught was indeed priceless, the cost to our family has been significant. But I still believe the truth needed to come out, however messy the process was. Edit. To those asking about the paternity test timeline, the baby is due in about 3 months, and they'll do the test right after birth. Ross says he'll support the child either way if it turns out to be his, but he's done with Tonya regardless. Edit 2. Yes, we've changed our locks. That was literally the first thing we did the day after Tonya left. Also deleted her from our Netflix and changed the Wi-Fi password lol. Edit 3. Some of you are saying I should have been more understanding of Tanya's situation, or that pregnancy is hard and makes people act differently. I get that pregnancy is difficult, but it doesn't turn you into a cheater who lies about insurance money and tries to take over someone else's bedroom. There's a difference between pregnancy hormones and just being a terrible person. Edit 4. Thanks for all the awards and support. To the people asking if I regret the dinner setup. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I regret hurting my brother, but I don't regret exposing Tanya. And honestly, ripping off the Band-Aid all at once was probably better than dragging it out. Plus, this way there was no way for her to spin it or lie her way out of it. Edit 5. For those wondering about Sean, according to Ross, he's been pretty cooperative and apologetic. He claims he didn't know Tonya was married at first, which might be true, but obviously continued the relationship after finding out, which is still shitty. Ross isn't interested in being buddies with him or anything, but they're communicating through lawyers about the potential paternity situation.